Hello, everybody. Mike from Southern California again, and you're on the mic. So yesterday I was, reviewing some of the videos from, some of the other YouTubers I watched, and came across Hero Hayes' video on the censorship that was happening, I guess, on Toonami now. Apparently, Toonami, there's some back and forth going on in which Fire Force, one of the more recent shows that debuted, is getting censored due to fan service. So I figured it was, I'll give my take on all that in a bit here. But I figured it'd be a good time to kind of go over a brief history of the censorship in anime in America over the years, because this isn't necessarily the first time this kind of thing has happened, and and I can explain, and I'll explain why here in this video. So I think we can go back as far back as the 1970s. Let's start here. There was an anime show back in '72 that was done in Japan called Science Ninja Team Gatchaman. It has been dubbed a few times over the years, over the last, almost 50 years here, 45 years or so. ADV even did a dub of it back in the 2000s. But one of the first dubs that happened was by Sandy Frank Entertainment, in which they had wanted to market it to American audiences. So they changed the name to Battle of the Planets, partly to kind of cap on the popularity of Star Wars at the time. But here's the thing. One of the things they were aiming for was to make this more like a kid's show. So it was heavily censored and edited. They cut out so much of the material that they ended up having to add the 7 Zark 7 segments into the show. They quite literally cut out a third of the show. So they had to, because the thing is that they were trying to appeal to American audiences at the time in '78, as well as get past, standards and practices, and, get past, and not hear complaints from parents about, because in Japan, as everybody knows in Japan, they're a little bit looser on things like that. There's more nudity, more profanity in anime than there is in, of course, American cartoons. So to make it more appealing they had to cut all that out and cut out like the graphic violence and just the excessive gore that you might find in such shows. And in doing so, they added the 7 Zark 7 character to kind of fill in the gaps that were taken out, as well as maybe kind of narrate, as 7 Zark 7 would monitor G-Force from their headquarters at Center Neptune. We go a little bit ahead in time to the 1980s. Now, many of you out there might have remember growing up on Voltron, right? Voltron was very similar. Now, Voltron, there were 2 seasons of Voltron. There was the Lion Voltron and the Vehicle Voltron. And this is all as presented by World Events Productions. This show was presented in one universe. But in fact, Voltron was comprised of two totally separate animes. The Vehicle Voltron was based on an anime known as Armored Fleet Dairugger 15. And then the Lion Voltron was based on the anime known as Beast Go Lion, which were, I think, both Toei Animation. And of course, again, in the 80s here, during the more conservative time in our country, again, to make it more appealing to American audiences, a lot of excessive scenery, scenes of violence and gore, explicit death scenes were edited or cut out completely. You know, then as we of course got in the 90s, more of, you'd start seeing more anime coming on like cable and more independent networks, to where there wasn't as much censorship. Like, we have the Toonami block of the 90s, which now, granted, it was more understandable back then if Toonami was editing and censoring at that time, because they were obviously trying to market the anime more towards, a younger audience. Um, but in it doesn't make much sense now, because now the Toonami block, of course, is on late at night on Saturday night. The whole purpose is that these animes are more geared towards like older teens and adults. So it doesn't make much sense to really be trying to edit it, you know. But we even saw some, in some of the more popular animes, we did see some editing, and even some episodes that were banned outright due to certain circumstances. And of course, going back to the early 90s first, early to mid 90s with Sailor Moon, when Deke Deke Productions was originally dubbing that show up in Canada. Um, the episode count was cut down because many of the episodes were really shrunk down and cut. Again, editing out, like, some of the transformation scenes, to where the body features were not shown as in detailed. You'd see, like, death scenes were kind of nullified a bit, or not nullified, but lessened. Um, let's see. And of course, this is all to appeal to American sensibilities at the time, of course, to make this show marketable here in the States. Um, Oftentimes, too, with many animes, of course, localization happens, in which, character names are changed to appeal to more, American audience, especially when they're dubbed. Um, Make it easier to understand the names. Um, and then we get the Pokemon. In Pokemon, there were about 2 or 3 episodes. One that was completely banned. A couple others that were taken out of rotation, at least for a little while. I don't know if those episodes are still out of rotation or not. I don't know, but you still find them online probably. But in Pokemon, of course, probably one of the most infamous episodes that was just banned outright. That never actually got dubbed because of what actually happened in Japan with it. I think it was episode 38 of the first season. Um, electric Pokemon Porygon. This was probably considered one of the most infamous episodes in anime history, in that, because of the strobing effect of the anime, it sent quite a few kids to the hospital, suffering from seizures and headaches, and just making them sick because of the strobing effect. So that episode never actually got dubbed. It never was shown in America. The only way you can see that episode is subbed, if you really want to. As for the other 2 episodes I talked about, there was the episode of Beauty and the Beast, in which Misty and both members of Team Rocket were competing in a in a bikini contest in which James is dressed in drag. Now, as many people know, James at times has been kind of characterized as being somewhat effeminate for a guy. But and as for comedic purposes, they would usually have him act like that. But of course, even in Japan, Pokemon was looked at as a kids show, so you weren't gonna have a whole lot of sexual innuendo there. But yet, that one I think was taken out because of that, because of the because of course the transvestism, transgenderism involved. And then of course there was the episode Tenna Cool and Tenna Cruel, in which was actually taken out of rotation in the States here after 9/11 because of the rampant destruction. So yeah, so anime happened, and then in Yu-Gi-Oh too, there was of course, so with Yu-Gi-Oh with a lot of magic going on and stuff, there were a lot of pentagrams used in certain arcs of Yu-Gi-Oh. Well, many of those stories with those pentagrams were edited out. They were changed to make it look like something different, to where you take that, because in occultic circles, the pentagram is a sign of the devil. So so yeah, that. So we've over the years we've had, of course, censorship on some. And Funimation is of course localized a lot of things too. I remember reading in the Yu Yu Hakusho liner notes how when how a particular conversation was more changed localized to because they were talking about a particular Japanese cyclist, and that dialogue was changed to reflect more of an American athlete, I believe. So now we come up and now we've and also this year one of the other things we've been hearing a lot about, and apparently this has been going on since 2015, in which Funimation has been somewhat editing, maybe censoring content that they get from they've been censoring some of their licensing content. And most notably started with Prison School. There's been a lot of talk about Dragon Maid as well. Kira Kobayashi's Dragon Maid that been talked about a lot, in which some of the script, but this censorship seems to be more agenda driven than really practices, because again, as I would argue that many of the censoring issues now seem to be more agenda driven, like they're trying to push a particular agenda, right? Trying to eliminate fan service, they're vilifying natural affection. This is a turn I don't think our society really should be going down. Where we have to be afraid to actually give each other a hug, or or you supposedly can't enjoy ecchi or harem anime because it's sexist, even though there are reverse harems out there like Oran High School Host Club and Brothers Conflict, I think is another one. But supposedly, if you like those kind of animes, and you're a pervert, you're disgusting. And even one of the other, in fact, I just saw this in some of my watch, because I'm right now watching Outbreak Company, and one of the things I just saw is how they're starting to dub lollies as pedophiles. We also heard recently another anime was going through that, where they decided to at least sub the term lolly as pedo, which is just it's I don't think that's really what it is, and I think a lot of people would agree with that. So This whole thing is kind of crazy, though. But anyways, I just figured I'd give you guys a brief history on censorship over the last 40, 50 years. You know, obviously this isn't new. This has been happening for a while. So, you know, if check out the links below. If you want to contact me directly, my Twitter handle will be down there. Also, I'm of course helping to promote Fantasy Soft and Phoenix Animation. Go ahead and check those companies out, guys. Check out what they're offering. And also, if you like this content, please. Let me go. Hold on. Let me go back to the links for a moment, because as you also know, I'm also helping to promote Vic's GoFundMe and Tug's Indiegogo. As always, guys, never feel pressured to give. If it's on your heart to do so, and you have the means to do it, please consider giving. If you've already given and you still have the means to do so, and it's on your heart to do so, please consider giving again. If you're not in a position to give, can at least still help us out by sharing the link with as many people as you can. That always helps. Now, to close it out, if you like this content, please like, comment, share, and subscribe. I always look forward to the conversations with you guys, as long as they're civil, nothing nasty, you know, and I will always get back to you as soon as I can. I'll always reply, because I always love the back and forth. Because that's how we resolve. That's really how you should try to resolve things. Is just talk it out. You know. And sometimes it's okay to agree to disagree. If you get to the point where you're arguing to where you feel like you're banging your head into the wall, then something's wrong. Sometimes you just have to let it go and just say, you know something, we'll agree to disagree. And people who try to shove their own opinions down your throat are not worth dealing with. Okay? They're not really worth dealing with. They're just a constant headache in your life. And also, let me just promo one more thing. As I mentioned in yesterday's video, every Tuesday I'll be doing a convention preview, in which I'll be previewing the conventions and telling you who's all going there. If you haven't seen that video yet, you might want to check it out, because I do give some detailed information on who's going where and who you're going to probably want to go see if you're considering going to the cons. So if you want to check that out, go ahead and check that out. And until tomorrow, guys, bye.